ओम योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि. From yesterday, we have started studying the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and before in the preliminary to that we have thought of the Anubandha Chatushtaya, which I simplified as who, what, how, and why. And of these who or the Adhikari, we discussed in quite detail by showing that the sadhaka is he who is aware now that he has to change himself to get at the Purnata, which is the goal of his life. And this Purnata is inherent in him. And yet he has to realize that by changing himself. Now this change has to take place on three levels. He has to change his consciousness. The I consciousness has to be changed. This is what is the main thing. Before that, we have to change our physical habits and mental habits. And this change of mental habits is what the Patanjali Muni is going to teach us. Now, the next point here is the subject matter. The subject matter is the next point. And yesterday, we started by telling that yoga does not mean only concentration. Yoga here means tat prapti upaya. And of the upayas, which are many, Swamiji has generalized them into four. And we read from Swamiji that by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these and be free. So this yoga by psychic control is what is the subject of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Now, this psychic control means control of the mental vibrations. Now, here, I will use one simile, one rupak, and that is of all the four yogas. What is Karma Yoga? Compare ourselves to a piece of sandalwood. And when we rub the sandalwood, rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, it becomes non-existent and we get fragrance only. This is the simile for Karma Yoga. Bhakti Yoga may define that, suppose we are sugar and we dissolve it in water, it completely gets dissolved there. So the individual I has to dissolve itself in the universal or cosmic I. Jnana Yoga is where we are like camphor. Just ignite it and it vanishes, leaving only the flame. Now in this system, what is this yoga of psychic control, which Swamiji has called it as Raj Yoga? What is it? We take a living man and bury him deep in the earth with the hope that he will die one day. So it is of this nature. We do not allow any mental wave to arise and go on trying for that. And so, if no mind, this man, let him die. This I has to be annihilated. That is all the yogas. So this is a simile I have used. And now, I yesterday mentioned one point that this is a incomplete science. And I told you that only Patanjali's yoga, I said it is an incomplete science. Swamiji in his Raj Yoga book has included Patanjali, and he has included many other things to make it complete. And his interpretation is completely Vedantic always. Now to show that it is incomplete, I go back to Gaudapad's Advaita Prakarana in the Mandukya Karikas. Now, unfortunately, I would say, Patanjali has based all his system on the Sankhya philosophy. And the end and aim of Sankhya philosophy, if we achieve, will be something like this. There is Prakriti and I am separate from Prakriti. And there is infinite number of people like me. Now, some people say that Patanjali is Seshwara Sankhya. But his definition of Ishvara is very peculiar, very peculiar. He does not accept Ishvara of the Vedanta, not at all so. Neither Ishvara is our creator, nor Ishvara is the Samashti. What is Ishvara? Purusha Vishesha Ishvara. Klesha Karma Vipaka Ashayir Aparamrushta Purusha Vishesha Ishvara. And this Ishvara is Purveshamapi Guru Kalena Anavacheda. This much only he accepts. Why? Because in Sankhya philosophy and Patanjali Yoga, there is no universal soul. There is no samashti soul. Gaudapad tells us that they are afraid, yogis are afraid. Because if they accept a samashti soul, their individual soul will get vanished. And so they think it will be Atmanash. We remember Swamiji's incident. When Swamiji met Sri Ramakrishna for the second time, he touched him in a particular way. And Swami Vivekananda felt that the whole world and his eye, they are circling and going into zero. And he shouted, "What are you doing to me?" So, Thakur had to slowly convince him about the Advaita philosophy. Then he became eager for Nirvikal Samadhi. So this is the one point which Patanjali has missed. Gaudapad again tells us that if we accept slight difference from Brahman, Anumatrepi Vaidharme Jayamane Vipashchita Asangata Sada Nasti Kimuta Varanachuti. Asangata or non-attachment may be there, but it is not permanent. Sada Asangata Nasti. If you accept you are there and Prakriti is there and I don't want to look at the Prakriti, one day you will look at. So long as Prakriti is real to you and separate from you. So, then the question arises, some people have asked me that question yesterday, that then why do we study it? Now here, let us see what Patanjali has done. I will read out a little portion from Swami Vivekananda here. He says, what is normally called extraordinary phenomena is not extraordinary. The things in this world are gross or subtle. The physical science does not accept that we can perceive any subtle thing. But Raj Yoga or Patanjali Yoga teaches us those methods where we can perceive our own mind. Now the Western psychology is mostly behavioral psychology. Nobody sees the mind, but from its behavior we try to judge and change it and control it. But Patanjali first of all will show us how by the yogic methods we can perceive the tanmatras, we can perceive the mind, and in this way he thinks that ultimately we will perceive the self. Now, where does it lead us to? Let us go back to Patanjali here. He starts his Yoganushasan, Atha Yoganushasanam. योगा चित्त वृत्ति निरोधा तदा द्रष्टु स्वरूपे अवस्थानम वृत्ति सारूप्यम इतरत्र. That means, so long as we have vrutti nirod, so long as we are ourselves. All other states, we are mixed up with our mental waves. Now, that means continuously we have to practice that. The moment we lose the control of the mind, this is what Gaudapad tells us, that there everything, freedom and pleasure and everything depends upon control of the mind. Control, control and control. While Vedanta tells us that if you can once achieve the Nirvikal Samadhi, you are free forever and you don't have to care about yourself. This is the great difference. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, what happens if a man gradually absorbs knowledge? First his desires go, then he becomes Pandya comes to him, Panditya, then Balya, then Maun, and then he says, you become a Brahmin. And then what happens after that? He says, Yena Syat, Tena Syat. He is totally free. So this is why I said yoga is limited. But on the other hand, that is the greatest science of the mind. And without the control of the mind, we cannot achieve anything. Vedanta supposes that we should change our consciousness. We discussed it yesterday, that my consciousness is, I am a jiva living in this world of objects. Rishi's consciousness or Thakur's consciousness is that there is only one consciousness in the world. It appears as I, you, he, she and it. Now how our consciousness will change into that? There are obstructions. Our thinking, feeling, will, all the functions of the mind are influenced by what is called ignorance or wrong knowledge for life after life. So unless we change all these, we cannot get at the consciousness at all. Tell me, how many people are aware of themselves as consciousness? Very, very, very few. We are either the body, even very less people are aware of their mind. We are either the body or the indriyas, at the most mind. I am consciousness, maybe jiva. That is the starting point of spiritual life. So we have to get at this position. And so long as mental waves are there and we become identified with the mental waves, vritti sarupyam itaratra, this is not possible. So when we make all the waves subside for the time being, drashtu swarupe avasthanam is not correct. We see what we are. We see our reflection as if in a mirror. And we become aware of what we are. No, I don't know how my face appears, how my eyes appear. I take a mirror. And if the mirror is clean, I perfectly see what I am. Now I know what I am. I do not require the mirror. If the mirror is taken away, that reflection goes back to my face, original face. So, this is what has yet to happen. The Patanjali Yoga will bring us to this position where we will know what we really are. We will not realize it immediately, but we will know that this is our nature. We are pure. Now this purity of Atman is what every philosophy Indian accepts. But the universal self is not touched upon. So this so-called individual self is a reflection of the universal self. We have to go by the truth, whether it is Patanjali or anybody. We respect Patanjali like anything, and that is why I use this Patanjali's Naman today. You say Patanjali is supposed to have, the Charak Samhita seems to belong to Patanjali. So he has told us how to remove the defects of the body. Patanjali has written a great commentary on Panini's grammar. So he has shown how to purify our language, and by this yoga, he has shown how to purify the mind. Now, the mental purification, how much mind has to be purified? Atma saman nirmalya apadane. Atman has no, what is the main property? Atman, the real nature of Atman, is called Advaita because there is no subject-object split in Atman. There is no man-woman consciousness in Atman. And that is what we have to gain back. That is what we have to get. That is what we have to realize. So first of all, we should see our mind. We should know how the mind behaves in the very fundamental. Then we will be able to control it. And once we are able to control the mind, then we shall come to know what we are, and then we shall realize it. That is the process according to Patanjali Yoga. According to what Swamiji calls the yoga of psychic control. Now, let us take up the Yoga Sutras again back. Atha Yoganuशासनम. Now, Atha does not mean beginning. It's an important thing. Atha in language or literature means now, one fine morning. Now, yoga is not something to be started. That is what Patanjali tells us. Something is going on in our mind. Something is going on in our life. We are struggling. As I pointed out yesterday, we are sadhakas. We are struggling to change ourselves. We are struggling to get at the universal reality. Now, during this struggle, we require somebody to tell us how to struggle. Our mind works through Maya, so we cannot use our own mind. As Sri Ramakrishna has told us, in the end, he says, mind becomes Guru, not in the beginning. So in the beginning, we require some scripture, some shastra to tell us how to purify the mind, how to control the mind. And for that, we are already struggling. It is a continuous process, not something to be begun. Now we have become old, let us think of yoga. Now we have finished our duties, now let us think of yoga. There is no such commencement of the yoga. Atha means a continuation. Now, these are the things we are already struggling, and in continuation of that struggle comes this yoga Anushasanam. Anushasan means a scripture, a shastra. Everything requires a shastra. I will digress a little, go to a different field and quote you something which is very important. This I have heard from again and again. To take the name will be difficult. I call him my Guruji. Guruji means one who opens the eyes, one who gives knowledge. Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya. So I am referring, I will tell you the name, the first president of the Nagpur Ashram, Pujaniya Swami Bhaskareswarananji. Now in his young age, when he went to Mahapuruji told him, beta, you will have to study Upanishads. This boy who was already a student of philosophy and psychology was a great meditator and a great lover of God. So he told Mahapuruji frankly, now Guru-Shishya relations are very frank. He told Mahapurush Maharaj, what is the use of studying that Ghatapata? The main thing is to love Thakur, is it not? Mahapuruji replied, yes, my boy, main thing is to love Thakur. But remember, you cannot love Thakur as you like. Love has a scripture. Love has a science. And then he quoted a Rishi Vakya, mind you, he said, Upanishads are the best Bhakti Shastras in the world. Take it from me, he said. So though I have digressed from the Patanjali Yoga, but I wanted to tell you that to control the mind, to purify the mind, we require a science. And that Patanjali is providing us. So, Atha Yoga Anushasana means yoga, he will define himself. Let us not rush into yoga. Yoga, I already told you that a process, that prapti upaya, and the process chosen by Patanjali is, he defines in the next sutra, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Now I have to explain here many things. What is chitta and what is vritti and what is nirodha? Now chitta means the mind stuff. We use sometimes some words with a double meaning. Mind is a particular function of antakaran. But mind is also used for the whole antakaran. Chitta is the tranquil state of antakaran. But chitta is again used for the mind stuff, the antakaran itself. So, in chitta, now because it is very, very subtle, let me first of all define what is subtle. That which is not available to indriyas is called subtle. Subtle does not mean very small physically. Subtle means that which is not available to the indriyas. Not that it is not available to anybody. Swami Vivekananda defines sadharana panchendriya grahya jata, that is he calls physical science. And yoga just sukshma shakti grahya, that is what he calls Vedas. So the subtle entity is our mind. Because it is subtle, it is very, very mobile. We know only one mobile thing, not our mobile phones. Water. Liquids we see are more mobile than solids. And so, mind or chitta is usually compared to a lake. A lake. You have to understand, this is something to make us understand. Lake consists of water. Mind consists of very subtle elements of matter. All the Panchatattvas in the rudimentary state, uncombined state, are together present in the mind. Now, because of its great subtlety and mobility, it is compared to a lake. And continuously, this lake is throwing up vibrations. Now, this vibration always has two poles, bipolar. One pole is I, the other pole is the object. Now, these vrittis, even in deep sleep, vritti is there. Patanjali will show us. Now, so long as vrittis are there, we become mixed with the vrittis. That is, he tells in the fourth sutra that we completely get mixed up with the vrittis. We do not know what we are. If you want to know what we are, we have to stop or restrict these vrittis. This is a great science. Very slowly and gradually we have to achieve it. We cannot suddenly stop all the vrittis. So that is what Patanjali will gradually teach us. Now, when the vrittis are stopped, that means the mental waves are not there. Of course, again it becomes one nirodha vritti. But whatever it may be, then we see our reflection. That is the whole idea. So yoga is defined as chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta is the mind stuff here, not the usual definition of chitta, which is the tranquil state of the mind, but chitta is the mind stuff. And it has waves. And the waves, according to the Sankhya philosophy, are sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, or mixture. And slowly, we have to control the tamasic waves, we have to control the rajasic waves, then only sattvic waves will remain. That is what Patanjali will slowly lead us. So it does not start by telling the steps of sadhana, he first defines what is yoga, what is to be achieved, that ideal. The first chapter is called by him as Samadhi path. Samadhi itself has so many meanings. In the Patanjali Yoga, we take Samadhi as concentration, perfect concentration. In Vedanta, Samadhi means knowledge. And Samadhi sometimes means Atman itself in Vedanta. But we are taking now Patanjali's definition. Samadhi is perfect concentration. So, Chitta Vritti, Nirodh we do, and now this Drashta, we are Drashta, we are consciousness, we are the perceivers. That itself we do not know. We get mixed up with the objects we perceive. Who are you? I'm an engineer. Who are you? I'm a brahmachari. Who are you? I'm a sannyasi. If there is no sannyas ashram, are you not there? If engineering is not there, are you not there? You are basically a jiva struggling in this world. And ultimately, you will find that the jiva gets, you may use the language, melts or dissolves in Brahman, finds its identity with Brahman. Now that is a far cry. So, this drashta or the perceiver or the consciousness will be in his own nature, swarupe avasthanam, when the chitta vrittis are not there. This is how Patanjali starts his Yoga Sutras, and he tells us, vritti sarupyam itaratra. Itaratra means other than this vritti nirodh, vrittis are there. And we do not know what we are. We become again this objectified. I am engineer, I am this, I am that. These are vrittis. Or I perceive this, I perceive that. Just like we say, I am a good boy, I say I am eating. What are you eating? So this is vritti sarupyam. What are you playing? I am playing. I am a good boy. I am playing. So I define myself as per the vrittis. I do not know that I am aware. I will take some small example. I am now looking at the wall. I am aware I am there looking at the wall. Suppose I close my eyes. I do not look at the wall, but I am aware that I am not looking at the wall. This awareness, we are not aware of our awareness. This is our real nature. And to get at this, we have to stop the vrittis for the present. That is what Patanjali tells us. We become mixed up with the vrittis, and now he proceeds to tell us we must know all these things, otherwise how we will control the mind? Without knowing blindly, many times what happens? I am trying to control my mind. What I am using? Only my willpower, without knowing the behavior of the mind. Mind has so many types of vrittis. So, vrittayaha panchatayaha. Patanjali tells us 5 types of vrittis. Actually, 10 types here you will say. Vrittaya panchataya klishta aklishta. One more point in this sutra we'll get that neither Sankhya nor Patanjali accept the Atman nature as bliss. They do not talk of bliss at all. In Mukti, we will rid ourselves from the miseries. The lower philosophies, Nyaya and Vaisheshik, go to the length of telling, we will be like a jada, no consciousness. That is Mukti. Now, Sankhya and Yoga are higher, and they will say that our miseries will go away. They nowhere talk that we will have bliss or happiness. So, klishta, aklishta. He does not say that some are kleshakarak and some are happy. he does not use the word happy. Because in him, the nature of Ananda is not known. Anyway, let us not continuously find fault with Patanjali. We are going to follow it. So he says, painful and not painful. All the 5 types are painful, all the 5 types are not painful. So become 10 types. What is the 5 types? Pramana, Viparya, Vikalpa, Nidra, Smrutaya. Praman means right knowledge. The means of right knowledge is Praman. So there is a vritti by which we know things as they are, as they appear to us actually. Right knowledge belongs to Brahmadhan, that is not talking of, but relatively right knowledge. I know this pencil as a pencil. I know a man as a man. This is called right knowledge. If I, instead of that rope, I see a snake, it is not right knowledge. If I know the rope as rope, it is right knowledge. So, in mind, so many vrittis are rising. Now, what I know, sometimes I know it is a tiger, then it is a kleshakari vritti. Sometimes I know it is rasgulla. Patanjali does not say it is a happy vritti. He said there is no pain in feeling it is a rasgulla. So, a thing in itself, he does not talk. A thing as it appears to common man is called by him the pramana vritti, means of right knowledge, which may be painful. I am feeling very hot. The temperature is down. If the temperature is down, there is cold. Now in cold season, I do not want ice. I want something heater, blower. And in summer, I am not going to use heater and blower. So in summer, the knowledge of heat produces klesha. The knowledge of ice cream or snow produces non-klesha. Again and again, I am reminded that it does not talk of bliss at all. Now let us think of the other type of vritti. He has defined in detail, but when the words are there, we must know the meaning. Viparyaya. Viparyaya is indiscrimination. That means I do not rightly know what it is. I do not rightly know what it is. I get mixed up with things. Vikalpa. Vikalpa is verbal delusion. Now, there are examples. Suppose I say the son of a barren woman. Barren woman cannot have a son, so it is not yielding any result. But as soon as the word is used, some imagination flashes, and I start thinking of a son of barren woman. In practical life, somebody utters some word, without thinking, without calmly judging, we jump into its meaning. Now, for example, this yoga. People think yoga is exercises. Yoga is not exercises. So, we jump into the meaning of words without knowing their actual meaning. This is a type of vritti. This again can be kleshakarak. This again can be non-kleshakarak. Even the wrong knowledge can be non-kleshakarak. For example, there is knacker. If we know knacker as knacker, right knowledge, if instead of knacker we see silver there, we may feel very pleased. Of course, Patanjali's language will not feel trouble. If we see a tiger, we will feel trouble. But if we know, it is not a tiger, it's a picture of a tiger, we will not feel troubled. Similarly, this meaning of the word, then nidra. Nidra is also a vritti. What type of vritti it is? Patanjali will tell us abhava alambana vrittir nidra. How to know that there is vritti in nidra? Because if the vritti was not there, we would not have known that we are sleeping even. And we would not have remembered anything after getting up that I was sleeping. Of course, here also again the problem comes. The Vedanta uses two sentences to tell us what we remember of the sleep. I knew nothing, I slept happily. Now this happiness is a permanent asset with us. Patanjali will say, we are not klesha karak in deep sleep. Okay, so there is a vritti in deep sleep. We'll slowly understand that by help of Patanjali. And then smriti. The thing is not present before us. We have seen it some time back. We remember what happened in our childhood. We remember many things. So what is this memory? A wave is arising in our mind. And how it happens, Swamiji has nicely explained. Suppose we throw a stone in a lake. There are waves. The stone goes down and the waves slowly subside to the bottom, but they do not vanish. They remain as waves and possibility of those rising again. This is called memory. Memory are waves of the mind where the object is not present before us today, but some time past we had that experience. Memory comes from all experiences. Right, wrong, from all experiences, the memory comes. So, these are vrittis which Patanjali tells us are either kleshakarak or non-kleshakarak. The point is that how to make the mind stuff free from any of these vrittis, because we are getting with the mixed up with the vrittis. The moment I remember something, I become that thing as it were. Everything is all right, but he hit me in 1990. I remember that. And I become that pain again. I forget that I am a consciousness. So this happens vrittaya vritti sarupyam itaratra. Anyway, let us think of the other two anubandhas also today. Purpose of life. And I tried to define it yesterday itself. Some people think that the purpose is mukti. I do not object to it. But mukti seems to be a side effect. What is the purpose? Yesterday I told while defining a sadhak, I have asampurnata. I want to become complete. Especially the Vedanta presents before us in Ishopanishad and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, I am Purnam. Now this Purnata is my goal. If I am complete, there is no necessity of being born again. Why are we born again? Because of our incompleteness, because of our desires, unfulfilled desires, and desires can never be fulfilled. So we'll go on getting born again and again. Now, if we become complete, if we achieve our purest nature, Patanjali says pure nature, all right. Vedanta will tell you our Brahman nature, then there is no need of being born again. This is the one goal kept before us by all Eastern philosophies. The West does not know of this. They think pleasure is the goal. And Swamiji says that pleasure comes to an end, so it can never be the goal. But this realization of our own full nature, complete nature, infinite nature is the only goal of life. Now the question remains how we are going to achieve this. How to study, you may say, these Patanjali Sutras. We shall know, first of all, what is our mind. We shall know all the habits of the mind in great detail. Then we will come to the position where we are able to stop the waves of the mind. Then we will come to know what we are. And let me add, then we will try to realize what we are. Only knowing, seeing myself as an object is always a reflection. So, from that point, once I know I am absolutely pure, let me add, once I know that I am myself the universal self, or this is only a reflection of the universal self, there is only one reality, then only I will become free. So this is how the Anubandha Chatushtaya we have thought how the mental control will lead us to the realization of the goal of life. That is what Patanjali is trying to teach us. So we have discussed a few sutras today, and we have discussed the Anubandha Chatushtaya completely. And yesterday, a question was asked to me after the class. I again invite you, any question you feel regarding this talk, you may ask me while the class is going on, you may ask me after the class. If you ask me after the class, I will try to reply on the next day. If you ask me during the class, I will try to reply then and there. So yesterday a question was asked to me, if Patanjali is incomplete science, why do you go there? Now, I want to win a race. I want to cross certain hurdles to cross the race. And if Patanjali can help me to cross most of the hurdles, why not do that? From there, I will find very little hurdle or very less hurdles, and I can reach the goal. So, a post near the goal, akin to the goal, near the goal, is what we shall achieve by the study of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, because, as I said yesterday, we repeat, it is the greatest psychology the world has seen. People, other psychologists, they only see the behavior of the mind. They do not know the nature of the mind. We shall come to know what mind is made of, how it works, and then we shall be able to control it. Knowledge is power. So when we get knowledge of the mind, we shall be able to control it fully. In the end, let me just repeat it that I'm not going to talk of asanas. For that, there are different scriptures, not Patanjali. There is Gheranda Samhita, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Shiva Samhita. They deal with the Hatha Yoga. Patanjali Yoga is called Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga in the second chapter will define as Yama Niyama are the moral or mental orientation. That is how yoga starts. Patanjali does not start how to sit and how to meditate. Patanjali yoga starts by how to orient the whole mind. And after the mind is oriented, then comes this asana, pranayama, etc. So that is the big difference between, one more point here, this Hatha Yoga. Again I looked, you see, I will tell you an incident. I was in Belgaum, and the Belgaum University was starting a yoga department. They wanted somebody from the ashram to go, and the ashram people sent me there. Before going there, this dictionary which I am telling you, I referred that time first of all. And in the 30 meanings given by Apte or Munir Williams, there is no meaning which corresponds to Hatha Yoga. No meaning of yoga which corresponds to Hatha Yoga. Then why it is called yoga? Only through Sri Ramakrishna will understand that. In a secondary way, Some people thought in good days of old, let me give the connection today. In the good days of old, some people thought we may try for our perfection, but we die, we fall sick, then we may be born again, but a lot of time is spent. So can we make our body perfect so that it will have no disease and it will stand for a very long time, will not die quickly? You know, the Hatha Yogis are supposed to live 300 years is nothing to them. In the Saint Dnyaneshwar's time, there was a Hatha Yogi called Sangadev, and it is supposed that he was 1400 years of age. But then what happens? To fall a log at last, dry, bald and sere. Sri Ramakrishna says, if you pay too much attention to the bodily welfare, your mind will remain fixed in that. Your mind will become caught by your body and you will not be able to rise above it. So, Hatha Yoga does not have this mental orientation or moral orientation. And sometimes the Hatha Yogic Samadhi is also called Jada Samadhi. So how can that be our topic here? Patanjali Yoga will give us the key to mental control, which in time, though not immediately, will lead us to perfection and mukti. Any questions, please? At this point, somebody wants to ask a question? Or, with your permission, let me close today's topic, though 5-6 minutes are still there, but we have covered a lot of grounds today. Tomorrow we shall come back. In the meanwhile, on WhatsApp, on email, or whatever method by phone, you can ask me your questions. I will try to answer them tomorrow. Om Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacha Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena. Now I am seeing you, first time. First time you people have appeared before me today. Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacha Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopa Karottam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjalirannatosmi. I want to point out one word here, and that is Patanjali is called a Muni here. Very loosely we say in our country there were many Rishi Munis Tapasvis. They have different meanings. Yesterday I gave the meaning of Rishi. Please note down. Rishi Darshanat, Muni Mananat. Muni Mananat. One who thinks properly is called a Muni. Not that he sees some transcendental truths. Swamiji here has very clearly told us that for thousands of years researches went on, and what Patanjali has given is a textbook. No textbook writer, say physics or chemistry, he is not the researchist. Many people have done the research. Then for our syllabus or for to teach us, he produces a textbook. So Patanjali is the highest authority on yoga because that is the only authority. We don't know other books at all. Other books which I mentioned are Hatha Yoga books. So Patanjali being the only book on Raja Yoga, it is the highest authority and is a Muni. Even one who salutes him is calling him a Muni, mind you. So Muni is a great thinker. Patanjali is a textbook writer. He has thought of all the researches done for thousands of years and has collected and given us a textbook. So after Prarthana, again I spoke something. So let us have Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.